Hi guys, so today we're going to be chatting about Witcher specifically. This is going to be a spoilery book chat for Time of Contempt. This is the fourth book in the Witcher books, but it's technically the second in the official series. It is also, I'm kind of bummed out to say, my least favorite book in the entire series. This is a reread for me, and I remember the first time not particularly loving this one. And then when I was rereading it and I first started it, I was not sure why that was the case, because I do actually really enjoy the beginning. I like seeing Yennefer and Ciri in what you can clearly tell is there's an ominous tone surrounding them. We start off with the messenger, and I thought everything about that part of the story just shows how good Sapkowski is when it comes to writing short stories and getting you to care about people that you don't really care about or don't really have much significance to the story. So all of that was done really well. And like I said, there's this ominous tone. Something's going to go wrong. And you get more of Ciri at the beginning and her feistiness. And I'm complimenting Sapkowski right now. But I just find that Sapkowski does such a good job writing people in their youth. So when we had Ciri in the previous book, she was a lot younger, and I just love the way that he showed her and her childish innocence. And then I like how we're seeing her grow up and kind of seeing her no longer being that innocent. So I really enjoyed that whole first chunk. And then when Geralt and Yennefer and Ciri all kind of reunite, I remember being bummed out, and I was a tad bit bummed out again that Geralt and Ciri's reunion wasn't really shown to us, because they've been apart now for a little bit, and Geralt has been worrying about her, and then so when we see them together again, and you kind of see it from Ciri's perspective, because this book definitely feels more like it is one of Ciri's books. It just is sad because it talks about how it was kind of awkward, and that their sentences would kind of die off, and they didn't have a lot to say. And I just thought that was so sad for Ciri, because she was so excited to see him again. She risked getting into a lot of trouble and danger to see him again. But we obviously get him reunited with her and Yennefer, and I was excited about that because the two of them are very tumultuous. And generally speaking, it is always really interesting to see their dynamic. And I have always felt that the gathering of all the sorcerers and sorceresses is a really fun chunk to read in the series, because it's one of the only times we really have an event like this, and it's kind of cool to see the dynamics and the way in which they interact with each other. And it was nice to actually see Yennefer and Geralt on kind of good terms, because they're always so back and forth. But then after that, that's when I personally find that my enjoyment of the story kind of went down a little bit. That's not to say this book is bad. This is all personal preference based. I'm very curious to know your personal thoughts about this, because I don't know if I found too many people that love this one in the series. I think a lot of people find it's kind of lower on the list. But the whole first chunk I found to be very engaging. I very much cared about what was going to be happening. But then after everything goes downhill, then I got a little bored. I don't like just throwing out there that I wasn't completely gripped without trying to at least pinpoint why, and then seeing if you guys agree or disagree, if you are on the fence, if you don't really know your particular thoughts on it. But for me, something that Sapkowski does quite often in his stories, and sometimes he does it in a way that I love, and sometimes he does it in a way that I just really don't like, and that would be the fact that he often goes to non-playable characters, as I call them. So he goes to people in the story that really aren't even main or side characters. They're not really characters that we're going to have any kind of emotional connection with. They're not really characters that have that much involvement in our main characters' lives. They are just people in this world, and you get to be in their eyes for a little bit so that you can see some situations and see how they play out. And he did that so much when he had Dandelion find Geralt with the Dryads, and he's speaking with him and he's telling him this, and we just constantly are going back to these kind of random perspectives. And I didn't enjoy that part. I kind of just wanted Dandelion to tell Geralt what had happened, and then have that be what happened, and then you can get Geralt's reaction, you can get Dandelion seeing Geralt's reaction. I just would have preferred that. I would have preferred to be more with Geralt and Dandelion in that moment rather than these other characters who sometimes it would be maybe a page or so, and then sometimes it would last for a while. I just didn't find that I cared much about them, and I felt that the delivery could have been done in a way, it would have just been my personal preference, not saying it's bad. I just found it could have been done in a way that would have been more to my liking because it could have come through our characters a little more rather than these non-playable characters. I also just find that there is very much an absence of Geralt in this story. We don't really see him much, and I do like that we get so much of Ciri, but I miss getting more of Geralt. So that's another reason that this one's not as high up for me in the Witcher series. I also just find we're kind of left a little bit with a what the heck just happened feeling with everything that transpired between the sorcerers and sorceresses. You kind of have a vague understanding, but something that I find is kind of true of this series is that you often don't see the consequences or get all the answers for things until another book or maybe 2 books later, and you don't quite know everything immediately, which is fine. In a series, I don't expect to have all the answers, and that's not necessarily what I'm saying. I guess after the first one, which felt like a lot of setup to something, this one felt like even more setup to something, and then a lot after that of just Ciri in the desert. Ciri's in the desert for so long, and I understand that part. I think part of why it lasts so long is so that you as the reader, you really feel in a way sort of what Ciri's feeling. You obviously can't feel exactly what she's feeling because she's going through so much, but I can understand why that part lasts so long. But after a while, I'm like, I get it. It's hot, and she's thirsty. And I know it's not very fair of me, but I kind of just, I wanted things to pick up. I want to know what the heck, let's get more details about everything that happened over here. And I want to know what's up with Geralt. Is he healing well? Is everything okay with him? And like, I know where the story goes. But reading this one, I kept waiting. I kept waiting to go back to somebody and get more answers. And it felt like it lasted so long. I do think that having that all happen the way it did definitely serves a purpose. It serves a purpose in showing us just how much Ciri has lost, because the poor girl already had to survive having her homeland of Sintra attacked. She already had to survive that, and it was a lot of just being on the road with random people and surviving in the forest, and so she already went through this, and now she's going through it again. And so I think having Ciri find these people that she loved in Yennefer and Geralt, and then feeling like they almost betrayed her. Where are they? Why haven't they come to rescue me? She's just a kid. She's like 14 years old in this book, and she kind of feels abandoned, and she's going through so much trying to survive, and then she's got these filthy, disgusting, terrible people that capture her, and it, I think, shows you why she is so willing to join that gang, the Rats, and how this is a product of war. This is a product of the Time of Contempt, of all these nations rivaling against each other and everything. So I think it serves its purpose, but it's just not necessarily, for me, my favorite moment in the story to read about. I also, and I'm being extra picky, and I'm sorry, again, all personal preference, you're of course free to disagree, but I find that after she joins with the gang and she's with the Rats at the very end of the story, you kind of get this info dump a little bit from the narrator, letting you know about each of the people in the Rats, and you find out their backstories within a paragraph or two, and they're all really sad and really tragic, and they all, again, are just showing you how awful the world is currently. But that's something I actually felt like that could have lasted longer, rather than the narrator being like, so here's what's up with all these people in this gang. I felt like we could have had Ciri be with this group for longer. We could have started to see her now developing a connection to these people and finding out from these people. I felt like then maybe we could have cared about these people more. And it's just the author obviously chose a different route, and maybe these characters, aren't supposed to be people that we really love that much. Whatever. I just feel like these particular characters have the potential to show really gray, flawed morality so well because they've been through so much, and they're really fascinating and really interesting, and I would have loved to get to know more or get to know more about them maybe a little more organically rather than just being told in the narration what was up with them. And we didn't get that, and that's fine. But I actually felt like with as long of amount of time we spent in the desert, I would have rather we kind of cut some of that out and then just, you know, given it to this gang and seeing Siri in this gang more. Anyway, I don't know that I have too much more to add. I feel quite bad because I do love this series and I often sing its praises, and for most of this video I've just been being like, I would have liked this better if it had been done this way. I've been kind of annoying, I feel like, and just complained the whole time, but even though it's one of my favorite series, this is just not one of my favorite installments in this series. I would have liked to have spent more time with Geralt and Yennefer, and not that I wanted less time with Ciri, I just wanted our time with Ciri maybe to have been done differently. But again, here I am just talking about what I would have wanted differently. So let me know your thoughts on this one if it's your first time reading it. I'm curious if you didn't know that so many people love this series, would you continue after this one? Or if it's a reread for you, do you feel differently? Do you actually like it more? I'm very curious your thoughts on this one, if you love it or you hate it. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all later. Bye.